Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to get the Scarab Skull without the Banshee. This is only possible in Halo 2 Anniversary, and you need these 5 skulls. The first skull you need is the Feather Skull to be turned on. This makes players and objects as light as a feather. This allows for players to be propelled by bullets. The next skull is the Sputnik Skull. This allows the player to be propelled quickly away from explosions. The next skull is the Boom Skull. This doubles the explosion radius of all explosions. Next is the Bandana Skull, which gives all players infinite ammo. The last skull, and one of the most important skulls in order to do this, is the Master Blaster Skull. This skull makes it so one player is given overshield, but they cannot shoot and they cannot throw grenades. Meanwhile, the other player has no shields, but they can shoot and throw grenades. This means that the overshielded player is able to be launched by explosions. Without the overshield, the player would simply die from the explosion, and this switches every 15 minutes, so you have to take turns between being launched. So I did this with my friend, and honestly, it's very challenging, but it's also very fun. It's super fun to be propelled by bullets and grenades and whatnot. Some of the jumps you can simply make just by one player shooting the other player up. It's almost like they ride the bullets, so that's like good for shorter jumps. In my opinion, that's why this is such a great map, Metropolis, because all the buildings, you can actually get on them and like walk around and explore. Like, they didn't have to do that. They could have just made it to where you fall through all the buildings and it could have just been a set piece, but they didn't do that. So just shout out to Bungie for back in the day just taking the time to make every building you see in Metropolis like actually a building that you can walk on. It took us many hours to figure out how to get through some of these massive jumps, and ultimately the process that we discovered that chain reaction explosions are a thing in Halo 2. So basically how it works is one player with overshield, he would just constantly kill the player with no shields in order to get a bunch of grenades on the ground, and we would get them all into like a nice big pile. Once they were in a pile, the player with no shields would throw a grenade at the player with overshields, and it would just totally launch them, like launches I've never seen before. When we first started out, we made it to this massive building, which actually goes all the way up to the bridge where the Scarab Skull is. And we thought if we just got on top of this building, that it would be super easy to get the Scarab Skull. Lo and behold, after many hours of perfecting this technique and trying to get up there, we finally got up there, but we were actually too high. We were too high above the bridge, and we couldn't get down to it. We tried falling down to it and we would just time out and die. That's really the biggest thing about this, is when you're falling, you just time out and die. So there's no fall damage in Halo 2, but you can just time out after about like 5 seconds of falling. So that was a huge bummer. It took us so many hours to get up there, and we tried so many things. I tried dual wielding SMGs and like shooting them as I fell. I thought that would like propel me up, but it didn't. And ultimately, yeah, so if you want to try this, don't go that route. Several days went by and we attempted to do it again. We attempted to go a different route. This time we went all the way up to the building where the soccer ball is on. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. And once we got on that building, we just launched ourselves across to this building that is directly below the bridge where the Scarab Skull is. At first, we tried to just vertically launch ourselves up to the bridge and just kind of thread the needle. But eventually we realized that jump was going to be way too hard. What we ultimately decided to do was to get across this huge ravine to get to the other side. And it's kind of deceiving. It looks closer than it is, but it's actually like a massive distance. And this would be further than we've ever launched ourselves before. A lot of the super jumps that we did, we were fortunate enough to have a wall that we could just kind of scale up, and it made it a little easier to just go up the side of a wall with the super jump. But going across this ravine was really difficult because we didn't have a wall to like guide us to where we needed to go. So what we ultimately decided to do was to create just another massive pile. I think we had about 10 grenades on the ground, and we kept running into this problem. We'd run into this a few times before, where the frag that's thrown would like propel the player away from the chain reaction explosion, if that makes sense. So the player wouldn't be propelled by the chain reaction. The player was only propelled by the first grenade that was thrown. So eventually we decided to make like a domino effect of grenades and just kind of have like a trail of grenades leading to the massive pile, and ultimately that's what ended up working. So we got across this massive ravine and we were hyped. We thought that would have been the last hurdle and we could have easily gotten up to the bridge. But then when we got there, we were so close. We were right under the little bridge entrance and we were in like this dark little crypt, and we were like, where exactly are we? Like, there were these walls that we could walk through that weren't really there, and there was like a ceiling above us, and we weren't sure if it was an invisible ceiling, if we could even get through it. So for about 30 minutes, we just kept trying like every corner we could. And we weren't sure if we were even able to make it up there. We would hit our head on the ceiling and we would just time out and die like really quick. And we were super bummed. We thought we weren't going to be able to do it. But then one last try, we gave it and we did the little domino effect thing. And I decided to crouch this time, which we had never done before. We'd never had the player crouch and be propelled. But that little extra crouch just made me not hit my head on the ceiling, and it was the absolute perfect, like threading the needle through the ceiling, and I landed right on top of the bridge. And we were fucking hyped. We did it. We fucking did it. We did something probably nobody's ever done before in Halo 2. If they have, I've not seen a video about it. I've talked to some other people in the Halo community. They didn't even know you could propel yourself this far with chain reactions, but it's all because of the overshield. The overshield is really the game changer, and that skull is called the Master Blaster Skull. So I don't know if that's like what they were intending with this, but it literally is that. It blasts you so far because you can take it because of the overshield. So anyways, we had a few like little jumps. We were super careful on these. We did not want to time out. We didn't have any checkpoints at all during this. It was really unfortunate. We had tried when we tried before, there were a few times we had to completely restart because a frag grenade would kill the guy with no shields and like launch the other guy off, or just little mistakes like that. One time I accidentally walked off the map after propelling my friend and he died and then I died, and it's a real bummer. So fortunately, yeah, we had no checkpoints from start to finish, but we didn't need them. So we were just pro gamers. I don't know what to tell you. We were just absolute bosses at this. We were like professional launchers when this was done. So anyways, yeah, the main thing is the chain reaction thing. You have to make sure that the player doesn't jump who's being launched by the chain reaction, because if you jump, you're getting further away from the explosion. What you want to do is like ride the explosion up. And my friend, he actually didn't have the Scarab Gun achievement, so this was like a huge moment for him in his life. I know he probably peaked at this moment, and he probably nothing else will ever beat this for him. So shout out to him for getting the Scarab Gun achievement, probably in a way that nobody's ever done before. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, is that you're like riding the shockwave up, so you don't want to jump. If you have the overshield, you don't want to jump. And you also want to make sure that the first like frag or sticky, whatever is thrown, that doesn't like affect the player first. You want the chain reaction to be what propels the player up. That's like the biggest thing that we learned through this, and it took a lot of trial and error before we realized what was happening. Like I said, many hours. We stayed up very late at night, later than I'm gonna admit, trying to do this, and ultimately it was definitely worth it. Would do again. And yeah, if any of you guys have questions about this, or if you need someone to do it, if you don't have any friends, you can join our Really Good Gamers Discord. And yeah, accept the No Banshee challenge and see where you can go. I mean, it's actually really fun just to explore this map and see which buildings you can get on. And like I said, it's a really good team building exercise. There's actually a lot of strategy that goes into this. So yeah, if you have any questions or anything, just comment down, let me know. I read all the comments. Be sure to leave a like and share if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys next time.